They killed 300,000 people overnight behind the Great Wall. Yes, the Great Wall, you know, the pride of China, the shield of empires. But in 1211 it became something else entirely. A trap, an advantage for the invaders. At a place later called Wild Fox Ridge, the Mongols came, and with them the end of an old world. A confrontation that would decide who would rule Asia, the empire, or the outcast. That's what we'll uncover in this episode. Let's go back. It all started during the reign of Emperor Zhang. Zhang of the Jin dynasty around the late 12th century, that's roughly the 1190s. Back then, China wasn't a single unified empire like we pictured today. It was a patchwork of rival powers. Three great states dominated the map: the Southern Song in the south, the Western Xia to the west, and the Jin Empire ruling the north. The Jin Empire was controlled by the Jurchens, a people from Manchuria, and it was what you might call a hybrid state. Their territory stretched from the northern grasslands all the way down into the agricultural heartlands. They kept control in part by playing the various Mongol tribes against each other, demanding tribute and making sure no single nomadic power could rise to challenge them. By then, the Jin Empire was facing growing trouble beyond its northern frontiers. The nomadic tribes were becoming more restless, and tensions were building. So the Jin court decided to strengthen its defenses quite literally brick by brick. They sent out officials to inspect and repair the defensive walls, the parapets, and even the smaller embankments of their northern fortresses on the empire's northwestern frontier. This massive repair project was led by a man named Zhangzong, given the new title of Commander of the Western Campaign. Here's the remarkable part, and it gives you a sense of how militarized the Jin state really was, without using a single civilian laborer. Zhangzong managed to complete the entire fortification project just by mobilizing 750,000 border troops. That's 750,000 soldiers, all stationed along the frontier, and they finished it on schedule. An entire wall system repaired purely by the hands of soldiers, not peasants. The emperor was so impressed he issued a formal commendation. At that time, around the year 1200, the Jin Empire probably thought they were safe. The walls were strong, the armies were vast, and the steppes seemed distant. Fast forward a few years, 1206, a man named Temujin united the Mongol tribes under one banner, took the title Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. Suddenly, the steppe that had been a kind of buffer zone for the Jin Empire was under the command of a single, unstoppable force. And almost from the moment he became Khan, he set his sights on the Jin dynasty. Not just out of ambition, but revenge. See, generations earlier, Jin forces had captured and executed two of his ancestors, Ambagaya Khan and KTR. That wound had never healed. So when Genghis took the throne, he swore to avenge them. But before turning south toward the Jin, he had to secure his rear, needed to make sure his western and northern borders were safe. So step by step, he built the foundation for what was to come. In 1207, he sent his eldest son Joki to conquer the forest peoples. They submitted, giving the Mongols control over vast northern territories. 2 years later, in 1209, the Uyghurs joined him, voluntarily allying with Genghis, providing him with scholars, scribes, and an administrative backbone. That was huge because it meant Genghis now had literate officials to run his growing empire. Around the same time, the Karloks, another Turkic group, also submitted, securing the rear of his southern front. But the real strategic move came in 1209 when Genghis personally led a campaign against Western Xia. a smaller but powerful kingdom that had long been allied with the Jin. This wasn't his first war with them. He'd tested their defenses twice before, in 1205 and again in 1207, but this time it was serious. After months of siege and fighting, Western Xia finally surrendered and agreed to pay tribute. By forcing them into submission, Genghis effectively cut off Jin's right arm, their main Western ally. The protective buffer zone that once shielded Jin was gone. The path to the Jin frontier was now wide open. Then fate added fuel to the fire. In 1208, the Jin Emperor Zhangzong died. His successor was Wanyang Yongji, known as Emperor Waishuang. And well, let's just say he wasn't exactly emperor material. When the news reached Genghis Khan, he reportedly sneered and said something like, "I thought the Emperor of China was a man of heaven. How could such a weak fool be worthy of that title?" That insult didn't stay secret for long. Jin officials reported it straight back to the emperor, who flew into a rage. He plotted to have Genghis killed the next time Mongol envoys came to pay tribute. But word travels fast on the steppe. Some surrendered Jin soldiers who had joined the Mongols tipped Genghis off to the plot. And that's when everything changed. Genghis Khan cut all diplomatic ties with the Jin. No more gifts, no more envoys, no more pretending to be allies. He was ready for war. In February 1211, at a place called the Yehuling River, deep in the Mongolian heartland, Genghis Khan gathered his chiefs and his army. Standing before his men, he prayed to heaven, calling on the eternal blue sky to witness his oath. He swore to avenge the wrongs done to his ancestors and to destroy the Jin Empire. He left behind a small force of 2,000 cavalry under his commander Tolan Churbi to guard the northern homeland. Then he led 60,000 warriors all mounted, all hardened by the steppe south toward the Jin frontier. That's right. He threw over 90% of his fighting force into this one decisive strike. That's audacity on a scale most leaders wouldn't even consider. With him were his 4 sons, Joki, Shagatai, Gadai, and Toluai, as well as his legendary generals, Gib, known for his lightning raids, and Mukali, his steadfast left-wing commander. The march south was brutal. They rode across what the old chronicles describe as a barren wasteland. Bald hills, scattered salt lakes, scarce water, no trees. For days the army trudged through dry, cracked earth and blinding dust storms. But when they finally reached the lands of the Ongd tribe, people living near the Jin border, they knew the war for northern China was about to begin. What might have been a large-scale raid for show and plunder transformed into a full-blown campaign of conquest and revenge, igniting the Mongol-Jin War that would drag on for 23 years, from 1211 to 1234. While Jib was pushing forward, Genghis Khan set up camp in the lands of the Ongd tribe. He decided to spend the summer of 1211 there. His men rested their horses, repaired saddles, and gathered supplies. It was a moment of calm before the storm, a strategic pause to prepare for the autumn campaign. But someone on the Jin side noticed what was happening. Up on the northern frontier, one of the Jin generals named Nian Maju sent the emperor a message. It basically said, "I see our neighboring tribes joining the Mongols. Even Western Xia has sent them women as tribute. They are making arrows and shields without rest. If this isn't preparation for war against us, then what is?" But the emperor didn't take it that way. Instead of listening, he accused Nian of cowardice and had him thrown into prison. That single mistake left the northern border wide open. Genghis Khan didn't waste a second. The Mongols began crossing into Jin territory. The emperor panicked. He sent an official to Genghis Khan to negotiate peace. But Genghis wasn't interested. He'd already decided the Jin Empire was his next conquest. Now desperate, Emperor Yangji released Naon from prison. But it was far too late. He started hurriedly organizing defenses, drawing up a line of fortifications from Beijing modern-day Tong, Shaanxi, through Changzhou. Southwest of modern Taipusi, Inner Mongolia, and Fuzhou near Jianbei County, Hubei. To command this new defense line, he appointed two men, Du Zhizong. It's the same man who'd once organized 750,000 troops to build the wall, and Wanyan Chungu. On the western flank, he put his trusted general Heshili Hashahu, a man known for his battlefield experience. Along the northern frontier stretched the Great Wall, not just a wall really, but a massive system of fortresses, watchtowers, and supply lines. It was guarded by nearly 1 million imperial soldiers, about 800,000 infantry, and 150,000 elite cavalry. On paper, the Jin army outnumbered Genghis Khan's forces by almost 10-1. But the emperor had ordered his generals to spread their troops thinly across the entire Great Wall, stretching thousands of miles. That meant that at any given point, only a few dozen or a few hundred men might be guarding a fortress. Even worse, the Great Wall wasn't one continuous barrier. It was a series of disconnected walls, each supported by scattered forts and castles. Impressive to look at, but hard to defend as a single system. You look big, but you're weak where it counts. Genghis Khan exploited this perfectly. He sent scouts to study every inch of this northern defense. Their reports revealed one critical weakness. Wuyu Fort, a small outpost guarding a desert mountain range known as Yehuling or Wild Fox Ridge. This was the key. That pass lay northwest of Juyang Pass, the main gateway leading straight into the Jin capital of Zhongdu, modern-day Beijing. And below those ridges, the Jin army had gathered its main force around 300,000 soldiers, confident that no enemy could ever break through. By July 1211, Genghis Khan made his move. He struck before the Jin could even finish their preparations. Timing was everything, and he knew the fortresses had just been rebuilt and were still poorly defended. He ordered Jib to lead the main assault. He and his people moved along the ancient postal route, later known in Yuan times as the Tigan Road, across the Jin border trench, and attacked two key strongholds, Wuyu Fort in modern Chengdu County, Inner Mongolia, and Wusha Camp northwest of modern Jianbei. It was a lightning strike. Du Zhizong rushed to Wuyu Fort with government troops to defend it. But before he could even set up, the Mongols hit. Both Wuyu Fort and Wusha Camp fell almost instantly. The Jin defenders had trusted their border wall and trenches to stop the Mongols. But those walls, built for siege warfare, were useless against the speed of Mongol cavalry. The frontier collapsed. The Jin court was furious. Du Zhizong was dismissed from command, and Wanyan Chungu was placed in charge. Meanwhile, another Mongol column commanded by Subutai, one of Genghis Khan's most brilliant young generals, advanced northwest. His force, led by a noble from the Hongjarad clan named Alki Noyan, first struck Changzhou, then stormed Wanzhou in today's Jinglan Banner, Inner Mongolia. At Wanzhou, the Mongols captured the Jin army's horse pastures, an enormous hall, reportedly close to 1 million horses. That's right, 1 million. It's almost impossible to picture, but imagine the plains turning black with moving herds. That single victory instantly supercharged the Mongol war machine. Subutai personally led the charge in that battle, seizing the city himself. Genghis was so pleased that he rewarded him with a full cart of gold and silk, a rare honor. While Subutai's column swept west, Genghis Khan's main army moved south, capturing Fuzhou and surrounding counties. At the same time, his three eldest sons, Jochi, Chagatai, and Geta launched a coordinated strike through the border barriers held by the Angst tribe. They overran Jinzhou, Fengzhou, Yangzhou, Dongshengzhou, Wuzhou, and Shuzhou, one fortress after another. Among these, Dongshengzhou, near modern Togda County, Inner Mongolia, was especially valuable. It was a key trade market, a customs hub, where Jin merchants had long traded with northern tribes. Its capture not only broke the Jin supply chain, but also sent a message. The Mongols could now raid deep into Chinese territory. Their next target, Xizang, the western capital, today's Datong. Hu Shahu led 7,000 elite troops out from Xizang to meet them in open battle. Near the Hui River, for 3 straight days the two armies fought fiercely. In the end, the Mongols won. Hu Shahu was forced to retreat to Xizang, where he'd holed up inside the walls. A week later, he tried to break out with his remaining 7,000 men. But Genghis sent Yelu Tuhua, the brother of Yelu Ahai, with 3,000 cavalry to chase him. Even though Hu Shahu's men were elite, the Jin's best they couldn't stand against Mongol mobility. In a running battle north of Dingan, the Jin army was destroyed. One Mongol warrior named Shimo Mingan became legendary in that fight. He was hit by 4 arrows but kept fighting, hiding his wounds from his men until victory was secured. Stories of his courage spread through the ranks, lifting morale across the army. By sunset, the Jin army was shattered. Hu Shahu escaped with only about 100 riders. The rest were either dead or captured. And yet, even after such a humiliating defeat, Hu Shahu's story didn't end there. It got stranger. On his retreat, he avoided going north, where Genghis's main army was, and instead fled southeast. Along the way, he looted towns, stole 5,000 taels of silver, seized government horses, and even killed the magistrate of Liwei County. When he finally stumbled back to Jiangdu, modern Beijing, the emperor didn't punish him. Unbelievably, he promoted him to right deputy marshal. It was pure madness inside the Jin court by then. Hu Shahu eventually retired in early 1212, but was brought back again in 1213 when things got desperate. As for his 7,000 men, the remnants of that elite force, they kept retreating north, unaware their commander had abandoned them. Yelu Tuhua pursued them relentlessly, finally cornering and annihilating the survivors at Kaiying Pass near Wild Fox Ridge, Yehuling, the place that would soon become legendary. Although the Mongols had crushed the Jin armies in the field, they didn't yet capture Xizang itself. After the battle, they pulled back, and the Jin court sent a new official, Mingyan Jinzhong, who happened to hate Hu Shahu, to take over the defense. He held Xizang for 3 more years until May 1214, when the city was finally abandoned. By then, the Jin Empire was already crumbling from within. It's incredible, isn't it? In less than a year, between the spring and winter of 1211, Genghis Khan, this army had torn through what was supposed to be one of the most fortified borders on Earth. By now, the Mongols had crossed the Gobi Desert and were pressing into Jin territory. One of their first targets was Fuzhou, a fortified city that stood like a gate to the heart of the Jin lands. Genghis Khan himself led the siege, Within days, his army surrounded the city, cut off its supplies, and forced it into submission. The Mongols plundered everything gold, livestock, weapons, and then set their sights further west. Meanwhile, Genghis Khan's vanguard under General Jib, known in Mongol history as one of the sharpest minds in warfare, moved swiftly toward Changshungu, modern Zhangjiakou. The date was September 14th. 2 days later, the city fell. The Mongols didn't stop to celebrate. They kept marching straight toward a mountain pass called Wild Fox Ridge, or Yehuling, a rugged valley carved with narrow mountain passes, twisting ridges, and choke points. It's the kind of terrain where you'd think a massive cavalry army would be at a disadvantage. On the surface, it seems true. The Mongols had to dismount and fight as infantry in places, temporarily giving up their usual mobility. When the Jin generals later met to plan their defense, a Liao advisor, a Khitan noble whose own empire had once fallen to the Jin, stepped forward with a bold idea. The Mongols have just finished looting Fuzhou. He said they're tired. Their horses are grazing carelessly at the foot of the hills. If we strike now, we can crush them in one blow. Jujin agreed to attack, but only if they could combine forces with reinforcements from other units. Once their troops were ready, they advanced toward the ridge known as Wanzhou, also called Badger Mouth, a narrow rocky pass in the Wild Fox Ridge Mountains. Unaware that they were marching straight into a trap, that was their first clash. When news reached Genghis Khan that the Jin army was approaching, his men were literally eating lunch. They didn't even finish their food. Pots were overturned, campfires stamped out, saddles thrown on horses. In minutes, thousands of men were riding toward the sound of battle. Genghis had only about 20,000 men left nearby, but he divided them into two groups. One to confront the Jin head-on, the other to circle behind and wait in ambush. Before the fighting began, Genghis sent a scout, a Tangut warrior named Chagun, to climb Wild Fox Ridge and survey the enemy position. From the summit, Chagun could see the Jin army spread out across the plains, their wagon forts glinting in the sun. He came back and told his Khan, their horses are restless, their formation thin, they're not as strong as they look. That was all Genghis needed to hear. The Mongol assault began like a thunderclap. First, the left wing, led by General Mukhali, one of Genghis's most trusted commanders, charged forward. He told the Khan, "They outnumber us, but if we don't strike with everything we've got, we'll lose anyway." And with that, he and his elite suicide warriors rode straight into the Jin front line. The assault was catastrophic. The Mongols kicked things off with a relentless hail of arrows raining down on the Jin army. Tens of thousands of arrows streaking through the air, hitting soldiers who were mostly conscripts with little training. Panic started to set in immediately. The wagon forts that had once seemed unbreakable now shattered, their wooden frames splintering beneath the storm. Meanwhile, the Jin commander Jujin hesitated. Instead of striking decisively, he sent an envoy to negotiate with the Mongols, a decision that would prove fatal. To make matters worse, this envoy betrayed him, completely wrecking morale among troops who were already shaky. The contrast could not have been starker. On one side, the Mongols were bold, aggressive, and fully committed. On the other, the Jin army wavered at the first sign of pressure. Then came the cavalry, smashing into the disorganized Jin lines. Mukhali, the Iron General of the Steppe, led a furious charge that tore open the Jin front. Their lines crumbled, and by midday, the retreat had begun. But Genghis Khan was not content to watch from afar. From behind the hills, a second Mongol force appeared. and at its head the Khan himself. With 3,000 elite horsemen, he plunged into the fray, turning battle into spectacle. The sight of their leader riding into danger electrified his troops. Mongol morale soared. The Jin, already faltering, broke completely. Genghis Khan had transformed the tactics of the steppe into the art of empire. The moving bush and lake formation, once methods of encircling prey, now served to trap entire armies. The Jin, bound by bureaucracy, could not adapt. Their command moved too slowly. Their formations were too rigid, and Yehuling itself sealed their fate. The narrow passes and steep ridges offered no space to rally or retreat. Once the line shattered, confusion ruled. Messengers vanished, orders went unheard, and panic devoured what discipline remained. The Jin army disintegrated not from strength of arms alone, but from the perfect marriage of strategy, psychology, and terrain. Caught between two fires, the Jin army shattered completely. For 3 relentless days the battle raged. The plain was a graveyard. So many dead that, as one chronicler wrote, the corpses covered the fields and clogged the rivers. Watching from a distance, General Chenggu's reserve saw the chaos and refused to fight. Instead, they fled south toward Zhuanbing County, today's Wangquan Hubei, desperate for safety behind its walls. Local militias offered to stand and fight beside them, but Chen Yu panicked and lost, turned them away. He was too busy searching for a way out. One old man, filled with anger and sorrow, told him bitterly, "You know all the winding paths, but not how to stand and fight. You're doomed." He was right. The Mongols caught up with him near Weiwei Fort, and the next battle finished what the last one had started. The Jin forces were annihilated. Qin Wu barely escaped with his life, fleeing all the way to Zhuangdi Prefecture. Meanwhile, Jib and another Mongol general, Gyagyun, pushed even deeper south. They captured city after city, Funning. Then Dexing Prefecture and finally reached the famous Juyong Pass, one of the great gateways leading to Beijing, then known as Zhengdu. There they used one of the Mongols' favorite tricks, the feigned retreat. They pretended to run. The Jin defenders, thinking they had won, chased them for miles right into an ambush. The Mongols wheeled around and crushed them. When Genghis arrived with his main army, the combined force stormed through the pass. The slaughter was unimaginable. One chronicle says the dead lay piled like rotten logs. By now, panic had reached Zhengdu, modern Beijing. The city went into lockdown. Genghis's army surrounded it. But after several weeks of siege, the Jin defenses held firm. The Mongols suffered losses and eventually pulled back. The Jin Emperor Wanyanji even tried to flee south, but his own guards stopped him, forcing him to stay and face the crisis. After that failed siege, Genghis changed strategy. Instead of wasting men on walled cities, he shifted to scorched earth warfare. His troops ravaged the countryside, burning towns, slaughtering garrisons, and destroying local administrations. It was a campaign not just to conquer, but to erase the Jin state's ability to recover. Within months, entire provinces were in ruins. From Hubei to Liaoning, the Mongols left nothing but ashes. By the end of that first year of war, northern China barely looked like itself anymore. To put it in perspective, the Jin Empire had around 53 million people. But this one campaign nearly broke its ability to fight back. Cities were wiped out, farms lay empty. The roads were littered with the bones of both soldiers and civilians. After that, Genghis Khan turned north to regroup on the steppe. His army carried with them tons of loot, prisoners, and a new mix of allies, Khitan and Chinese defectors, who'd soon fight for him in the wars to come. It was just the beginning. The Jin dynasty still stood, but its back was broken. And in the years to come, the thunder of Mongol hooves would return again and again until nothing of the old empire remained. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Thank you, and see you next time.